They told the artist, dream bigger, sing louder, dance harder, give the world your pain, and we'll give you the spotlight. And for a moment, it felt beautiful. The screaming crowds, the platinum plaques, the flashing cameras that made poverty look far away. But somewhere between the standing ovations and the signatures in ink, ownership disappeared. Because the music industry mastered a dangerous art form, the ability to make an artist feel rich while keeping them economically powerless. They learned how to package struggle, monetize trauma, commercialize black creativity, and sell rebellion back to the very communities it came from. And no, this is not a conversation about business being evil. Business deserves profit. Investment deserves return. But there is a difference between building with an artist and building an empire off an artist. There is a difference between partnership and quiet exploitation dressed in luxury. Because how does a group sell millions of records and still end up bankrupt like TLC? How does a genius like Prince write the soundtrack of generations, yet fight ownership of his own name, his own masters, his own voice? The answer lives inside contracts most young artists never fully understand. Signed in moments of desperation, hunger, survival, and dreams too big to slow down long enough to question the fine print. Fame became the distraction. Applause became the anesthesia. And while the artists perform under the spotlight, somebody else quietly owned the stage. This is not just a story about music. This is a story about power, about ownership, about culture, and who profits from the soul of the artist, and who gets left with the echoes after the money is counted. Welcome to the conversation.
Look, little room in the back of the crib. Paint peeled, but we dreaming big. Hand-me-down mic on a milk crate stand. Turn that closet to a whole new land. Shoes at the door, no questions asked. Kids from the block with a busted past. Laugh too loud, then we duck that rage. Turn the hurt and the heat into love, into place.
On the sugar place, where the bitter turns sweet in the day, where the pain that we carry in the veins get laced in the lines that we say. If you broke, if you lost your way, pull up, find the floor, you can stay. All that salt on your face we erase when you step in the sugar place.
There is something haunting about watching an artist smile on stage, knowing they may already be trapped behind the scenes. The music industry has always known how to manufacture a dream. Take somebody young, talented, hungry, desperate for escape. Promise them fame. Promise them money. Promise them immortality. And sometimes deliver all three. But hidden beneath the lights is another truth most people never see. Because there is a difference between making money with an artist and making money off an artist. And for decades, many black artists learned the difference far too late. So tonight, we're talking about the line between business and exploitation. Now let's be fair before we get emotional. Record labels are businesses. They invest money into artists, studio time, into their marketing, radio promotion, tour support, music videos, branding, and distribution. And that could cost millions. So yes, labels deserve profit. This is not a childish conversation about artists should keep 100% of everything. That's unrealistic. The issue is not profit. The issue is imbalance. The issue begins when the artist becomes the engine of a billion-dollar machine, while remaining financially powerless inside of it. That's where the real conversation changes. One of the greatest tricks the music industry ever pulled was making people believe visibility equals ownership. People see jewelry, award shows, private jets, designer clothes, sold out arenas, and they assume they must be rich. But fame and wealth are not the same thing. Fame is visibility. Wealth is ownership. And historically, many artists, especially young black artists, were given visibility long before they were given ownership. That distinction matters because you can be the face of the culture while somebody else owns the culture you created. For instance, the story of TLC shocked the public because it exposed something people didn't want to believe. How do you sell millions of records and still file for bankruptcy? To ordinary people, that sounds impossible. But the music industry operates on contracts, recoupments, percentages, publishing splits, management fees, legal fees, production costs, label advances, all deducted before artists often see real money. And many artists sign deals young. No financial literacy, no legal understanding, just ambition and pressure. Imagine being 19 years old, coming from struggle, and someone places a contract in front of you offering you more money than your family has ever seen. Most people will sign to. That's the part of society ignores. People love mocking artists after the fact. They should have read the contract. But desperation changes how people negotiate. Hunger changes patience. Survival changes decision making. Then there's Prince, which is one of my favorite artists, by the way. Prince wasn't fighting because he lacked talent. He wasn't fighting because he failed. He fought because he understood something deeper. If the artists create the value, why does the artist often own the least? That question shook the industry. When Prince changed his name to a symbol and appeared with the word slave written on his face, many people thought he was being dramatic. But Prince understood psychological ownership. He understood that if somebody controls your masters, your publishing, your image, your distribution, they can continue profiting from your creativity long after you lose power over it. And what made Prince dangerous was not just his talent. It was his awareness. Awareness threatens systems built on imbalance. Now this conversation becomes uncomfortable because we cannot ignore race in the history of entertainment. Black artists have repeatedly shaped global culture. In blues, jazz, rock, R&B, hip-hop, and soul. The sound changes. The pattern often doesn't. The culture gets exported worldwide. The artists become iconic, but ownership frequently stays somewhere else. And historically, many black artists were denied fair publishing, master ownership, executive control, royalty transparency. Not always through overt racism, sometimes through lack of education, predatory contracts, gatekeeping, or simply taking advantage of people eager for opportunity. Exploitation doesn't always arrive wearing a villain's face. Sometimes it arrives smiling, offering opportunity. Now, to be honest, the industry has evolved. Artists today have more independence than ever before. Social media changed marketing, streaming changed distribution, and independent artists can build audiences without begging gatekeepers for permission. But exploitation didn't disappear. It adapted. Now artists chase virality. Algorithms replace artist development. Some musicians are pressured to become influencer first, artists second. Millions of streams still don't always equal financial stability. And many creators are burning themselves out trying to stay visible in an economy that rewards constant attention. Different era, same pressure. At the core of all of this, the real battle is ownership. Not applause, not followers, not temporary fame. Ownership. Who owns the masters? Who owns the publishing? Who controls the catalog? Who profits 20 years later? That's the difference between being famous and being free. Because a hit song can make you popular for a summer. Ownership can change your family for generations. The saddest part about the music industry is not that artists get used. It's that many artists are taught to mistake attention for power. They are handed applause before equity, fame before leverage, visibility before ownership. And by the time some artists finally understand the game, the contracts are already signed, the masters are already gone, the machine is already fed. And somewhere in the distance, the crowd is still screaming, unaware that the person on stage may not even fully own the music they came to hear. Maybe that's the real lesson. Talent alone is not enough, because in an industry built on dreams, the person who owns the dream often profits the most. I hear the songs still echoing through the bones of America, through jukeboxes, churches, corner stores, headphones, through the trembling mouths of children singing lyrics written by souls who sometimes died without ownership of their own voice. I see the artist, young, brilliant, burning like a matchstick in a dark room, entering offices taller than his confidence, carrying only talent and hope in his hands. And hope has always been expensive. They told him, sign here, trust us, this is how greatness begins. And perhaps they were not entirely lying. Greatness did begin there, but so did surrender. For what is a contract to a hungry dreamer who has spent his whole life trying to escape poverty's grip? The paper glittered like salvation. The ink looked like freedom. Yet hidden behind the clauses and percentages were invisible chains dressed in legal language. Oh, America, how many black voices built the soundtrack of your cities, while dying strangers to the wealth their art created? Blues poured from the fields, jazz rose from the smoke, soul cried from broken hearts, and hip-hop thundered from concrete veins. And the world danced. Oh, how the world danced beautifully. But too often the dancer become rich while the creator remain in debt to the rhythm he birthed. And somewhere tonight, another young artist sit in a studio apartment, exhausted, hopeful, desperate to be heard. Another voice preparing to trade ownership for opportunity, because the machine still hungers. It feeds on ambition. It feeds on insecurity. It feeds on the beautiful human desire to matter. And yet, still, the artist sings. Still, the poet writes. Still, the musician bleeds truth into melody. Because art is stubborn. The soul is stubborn. Even when exploited, it continues creating. Perhaps that is both the tragedy and the miracle. I hope you enjoyed our conversation tonight. I'm a little under the weather, but as you know, the show must go on, so I apologize for my voice. Now I want to hear from you. Sound off in the comments. Why do you think artist exploitation still exists today, despite decades of public stories, lawsuits, and warnings from artists like Prince and TLC? Is it greed, lack of education, desperation for opportunity, or something deeper within entertainment culture? And do artists bear responsibility for signing bad deals? Or does the entertainment industry have a responsibility to protect young talent from predatory contracts? At what point does business stop being business and become exploitation?